Let's be brutally honest. There's a reason why some men stay burned into a woman's memory long after he's gone. Why his name still echoes in her thoughts at 2 a.m. when the world goes quiet and her mask finally slips. She can move on, date someone new, even convince herself she's healed, but somewhere deep down, she still feels him. Not because he played games, not because he begged for her attention, but because he left a psychological imprint that no one else could replace. And if you've ever wondered why women never truly forget certain men, it's not about looks, status, or charm. It's about impact. See, most men chase women by trying to prove they're good enough. They overgive, over-explain, and over-invest in someone who hasn't earned it. But the men women never forget, they move differently. They don't seek validation. They give something more powerful, presence. The kind of presence that makes a woman feel seen, not just looked at. Heard, not just entertained. Valued, not just desired. When a man carries himself with quiet certainty, a woman feels something ancient inside her awaken. It's not about dominance or control. It's about groundedness. The kind of calm that makes her chaos make sense. Most men rush to impress. He listens instead. Most men react emotionally. He stays composed. Most men chase approval. He offers peace. And because of that, she feels something rare. Safety. That's the first reason women never forget certain men. They don't give her adrenaline. They give her alignment. They don't compete for her attention. They command it through silence, through eye contact, through the way they walk away instead of arguing for validation. You see, women are emotional archivists. They remember how you made them feel. You can fake words, fake charm, fake a lifestyle, but you can't fake energy. The energy of a man who knows who he is, who can walk away from anything that costs him his peace, that's the energy that haunts her long after you're gone. But there's another layer to this, and most men miss it. The man she never forgets doesn't just challenge her emotionally, he holds up a mirror. He exposes her patterns gently, without judgment. He's not there to fix her, he's there to reflect her truth back to her. That's what makes her obsessed, even in silence. Because for the first time, someone saw through her mask, through her curated image, through her defenses, and still chose to walk with grace. This isn't manipulation, it's masculine presence, pure, patient, and precise. You're not chasing her emotions, you're standing still while she's forced to confront her own. That's what makes her remember you when she's with someone else. When the next guy texts too much, when he tries too hard, when he lacks that calm assurance, she doesn't even know why she's comparing him to you, but she is, because deep down, she felt something different in your silence than she ever felt in another man's words. You want to leave a mark on a woman? Don't try to impress her. Impact her. Don't try to be what she wants. Be what she respects. Because respect outlasts attraction. When you carry a quiet strength, when you lead without controlling, when you can love without losing yourself, you become unforgettable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real in a world full of noise. Now tell me, honestly, do you think she still thinks about you? Or has she replaced you? Or tried to? Comment below what you believe. And if this hit something inside you, don't scroll. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to hear this tonight. Let's be real for a second. Women never forget the man who made them feel safe in their own chaos. You see, safety isn't about protection from the world. It's about emotional steadiness. When a woman meets a man who doesn't get thrown off by her moods, her tests, or her uncertainty, he stands out. Because every woman has a storm inside her, doubts, fears, insecurities, and most men either run from it or drown in it. But the man she never forgets, he becomes the calm in that storm. He doesn't try to control her emotions. He holds his own. Think about that. Most men panic when a woman pulls away. They start chasing, calling, texting, explaining, trying to fix what they don't understand. But the man who leaves a permanent mark knows that silence has a power words never will. He doesn't chase because he knows value never begs. He doesn't argue because he knows peace is more seductive than persuasion. He simply lets her feel the loss of his presence, and she will. Because absence speaks louder when it's from a man who had emotional gravity. See, women can forget men who give them drama. They can move on from men who gave them attention, but they can't forget the man who gave them emotional peace and walked away when it wasn't respected. Because that's rare. That's the kind of energy that lingers, not in her mind, but in her nervous system. She remembers the way her heart slowed when you spoke calmly, the way you didn't fold when she tested your patience, the way you didn't need her approval to know your worth. That's the second thing women never forget: emotional control. It's magnetic. Because emotional control tells her, I don't need you to make me feel like a man. And in that moment, she subconsciously respects you. Even if she argues, even if she pretends not to care, her body feels the difference. Because women crave emotional safety as deeply as men crave purpose. And when she finds a man who embodies both, strength and stability, she can't erase him, even if she tries. Now here's the paradox. The more you center your life around her, the faster she forgets you. But the more you center your life around your purpose, the deeper she feels your presence, even in your absence. When you stop orbiting around her emotions, she starts orbiting around your energy. That's the law of polarity. The feminine is drawn to the masculine that holds firm. She's wired to test, not because she wants to destroy you, but because she wants to feel that you're unshakable. And when she realizes she can't break your focus, she's drawn in. That's why detachment isn't cold. It's powerful. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care from a place of strength, not desperation. You can love her, want her, desire her, but never need her to feel whole, because the moment you need her to complete you, you lose her respect. The man she never forgets doesn't make her his oxygen. He makes her part of his rhythm. He gives her something to admire, not something to fix. When you become the man who can walk away with dignity, she'll never see you the same, because every man talks about strength. Few embody it. You can't fake that kind of calm. It comes from purpose, from discipline, from knowing that your self-worth isn't tied to how someone feels about you today. That's the kind of power women remember. That's the kind of man whose silence echoes louder than another man's promises. So here's the question. When things fall apart, do you lose control or do you lead with calm confidence? Tell me below. Be honest. And if this message hit you deep, like, comment, and subscribe. Because the next truth I share might just change the way you see every relationship you've ever had. You know what truly haunts a woman long after you're gone? It's not the things you bought her. It's not the messages you sent or the compliments you gave. It's the feeling of being understood without her needing to explain herself. Because that's something almost no man gives her. The man she never forgets listens beyond words. He sees patterns, not just behaviors. He doesn't react to her emotions, he decodes them. And that makes her feel something she didn't know she was missing: emotional clarity. See, women live in a world that constantly demands they perform, to look a certain way, talk a certain way, act like they have everything under control. But deep down, every woman carries unspoken chaos, fears of not being enough, of being replaced, of being unseen. And when a man comes along who doesn't try to fix her, but instead understands her, he becomes unforgettable. Because understanding is the rarest form of attraction. You might think she wants constant validation, but that's not what stays with her. What stays is when you made her feel safe to be honest, when she could let her guard down without you using it against her later, when you listened without judgment, without interruption, without turning it into a debate. Because most men hear to reply, but the man she never forgets hears to connect. He's not analyzing how to win her. He's understanding how she feels. That's intimacy, not physical, emotional. And that's where the real imprint happens. Because the moment a woman feels emotionally seen, she ties that experience to you. Even if she moves on, she'll compare every man after you to that feeling. She'll remember how she could be messy, emotional, vulnerable, and still feel respected. That's the secret to being unforgettable. Respect through vulnerability. You respected her emotions without drowning in them. You let her express without losing yourself. You made her feel human, not hysterical. And that changes everything. But here's what most men miss. Women don't want perfection. They want presence. They don't need you to have every answer. They need to feel that you're with them, not against them. When she's emotional, she's not always asking for logic. She's asking for grounding. If you can stay still in her storm, you win her trust in ways words never could. Because when a woman trusts your energy, she'll open her heart. And when she opens her heart, you become part of her memory, not just her history. Now let's talk about something deeper. The man she never forgets doesn't lose himself trying to prove his worth. He's confident enough to say, "I understand you, but I won't chase chaos." That boundary, that quiet refusal to be manipulated, earns a kind of respect she won't admit out loud. It's a paradox. The man who won't tolerate emotional games is the one she feels safest around, because deep down, she knows he won't lose himself for love. And that's the kind of strength women can't erase. That's why she remembers you when she's with someone else who doesn't listen, who dismisses her emotions, who only loves her when it's easy. You taught her that love can be patient and strong, and she can't forget that contrast. You're not just a man she dated. You became a lesson in emotional maturity. So let me ask you this. When a woman gets emotional, do you try to silence her, or do you make her feel safe enough to open up? Think about that, because how you handle her emotions determines whether you'll be remembered or forgotten. Drop your honest answer in the comments, and if this message speaks truth to you, hit like, subscribe, and share this with a man who needs to understand what women never say out loud. Here's a truth most men never want to admit. Women never forget the man who walked away without resentment. The man who didn't try to get even, didn't argue, didn't beg for closure. He just disappeared with peace. That silence cuts deeper than any words ever could, because every woman, deep down, expects a man to fight for her attention when she pulls away. But when he doesn't, when he simply lets go and moves forward with calm conviction, she starts questioning everything. That's when she realizes she lost something real. You see, most men make the mistake of thinking their power comes from holding on, but it's the opposite. Real power comes from letting go with grace. When a woman knows she can't shake your peace, she starts missing it. She starts remembering the small things, the steadiness in your tone, the way you didn't explode, the way you smiled and said, "I wish you the best," and meant it. That's the kind of maturity that burns in her memory, because emotional composure is rare, especially in a world where everyone is reacting out of ego. The man she never forgets isn't the loudest or the most dramatic. He's the one who leaves an echo, the one who doesn't try to prove his value, he embodies it. When she expected anger, he gave her silence. When she expected control, he gave her freedom. When she expected him to chase, he chose peace instead. That contrast is unforgettable, because it forces her to confront something uncomfortable. She misjudged his strength. And that's where regret is born. Not because she lost someone who worshipped her, but because she lost someone who didn't need to. You see, when you love from wholeness, not emptiness, your energy becomes heavy in the best way. It lingers. It stays in her subconscious. She might tell herself she's moved on, but when her new relationship feels off, when her next partner reacts instead of responds, she'll remember you. The calm, the self-control, the dignity. That's why indifference is more powerful than anger. Anger says you still need closure. Indifference says you've healed. And when a woman realizes you're not waiting for her apology or attention, that's when she truly feels your absence. Because she can't fix silence. She can't manipulate stillness. And that's what drives her crazy. But let me be clear, this isn't about revenge. It's not about making her miss you. It's about self-respect, the kind that says, I can love you deeply and still walk away when it stops being healthy. That's a line few men are strong enough to draw. Yet that's the very boundary that makes you unforgettable, because women might test boundaries, but they trust men who have them. So, when you choose peace over pride, you become something she can't replace. You teach her that love doesn't need to be chaotic to be real. That strength isn't about control, it's about discipline. You show her that walking away doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you cared about yourself enough to not settle for half-hearted love. And over time, that memory softens her. She'll remember how she felt when you let go without hate. She'll remember that look in your eyes that said, "You'll be okay, and so will I." That's the moment you stopped being a chapter and became a lesson. So let me ask you something from man to man. When love starts slipping away, do you fight for control or walk away with self-respect? Your answer says everything about the kind of energy you leave behind. Tell me in the comments what you do. And if this message hit deep, like this video, subscribe and share it with a man who needs to learn the quiet strength of letting go. Let's be brutally honest again. Women never forget the man who made her feel safe enough to be herself and strong enough to lose him, because that kind of connection changes her. It forces her to see love differently. You see, a man like that doesn't just enter her life, he awakens something in her. Not because he gave her everything she wanted, but because he gave her what she didn't know she needed: truth. And the truth always leaves a scar. When a woman meets a man who refuses to lose his identity for her affection, something inside her shifts. At first, she might resist it. She might call him distant, detached, too calm. But later, she understands he wasn't distant, he was disciplined. He wasn't cold, he was centered. And that's when it hits her. He didn't need her validation to feel whole. He wanted her, yes, but he never needed her. That's a level of confidence most women rarely see, and once they do, they can't unsee it. That's the man who becomes the standard. Every man after you will be measured against the peace you brought, the power you carried, and the presence you owned. She'll never admit it out loud, but deep down, she'll remember the way your energy felt different. Because it wasn't built on insecurity or performance, it was built on purpose. You were a man who moved with meaning. And that's what leaves a mark on a woman's soul. You didn't chase her, you inspired her. You didn't beg for attention, you commanded respect. You didn't say much, but your silence carried weight. That's why she can't forget you, because you didn't just touch her body or her heart. You touched her reality. You raised her standards without even trying. You showed her what emotional maturity looks like. You showed her that love doesn't have to mean losing yourself. And whether she ever tells you or not, she'll thank you one day, even if only in her thoughts. Because the man a woman never forgets is the one who loved her with boundaries, who respected himself enough to say, "I'll meet you halfway," but never chase you all the way. You gave her the space to grow, to reflect, to realize what she lost. And in that space, she found clarity. That's your power. You didn't just walk away, you left impact. And maybe she'll move on. Maybe she'll find someone new. But late at night, when the world is quiet and she scrolls through old messages, she'll feel that ache. Not for attention, not for closure, but for the peace she once had around you. She'll remember the steadiness in your voice, the calm in your eyes, the way you didn't try to own her, only understand her. That's the memory that doesn't fade, because it wasn't about control, it was about connection. So here's the truth most men ignore. The way you leave a woman says more about your strength than the way you love her. Love her deeply, yes, but love yourself enough to walk away when your worth isn't honored. That's how legends are remembered. Not for what they gave, but for what they refused to lose in the process. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever been the man a woman couldn't forget? Or are you still learning to become him? Be honest. Drop your answer in the comments. And if this message opened something inside you, don't just move on. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with a man who needs to be reminded that true strength isn't in chasing, it's in becoming unforgettable.